Our next speaker describes himself as an innovator, an entrepreneur, a designer, transformer, speaker and executive. After roughly 10 years with Woolworths, most recently as Head of Innovation, Ryan recently ventured away from the fresh food people to focus on his own ventures. Ryan told me that despite living in New South Wales for his entire life, he has lived in 15 houses in 14 years, and that this experience with personal change has made it easier for him to make change in the workplace. To share with us some of the stories of innovation and entrepreneurship at Woolworths, please make welcome Ryan Liddle.
Well, I guess, was it 13%? I fall into the 13% in some way, shape or form. The funny thing is I didn't know those stats before coming here today, but I really know that actually is occurring within the workforce that exists at Woolworths. Now, I'm not at Woolworths anymore. That's not the important thing here today. But there's two stories that I could share with you around that particular stat. There's a little company, a brewing company called Two Birds Brewing. They make beer down in, I think they make it actually in Victoria, but the founders are two ladies from Sydney. One of those used to be at Woolworths working within a product development role. She had a passion for alcohol in a good way, maybe not in a bad way. Saw an opportunity in the market around microbrewing and has since stepped out of her position a number of years ago and grown that business quite significantly. They tend to sponsor a lot of startup events, being a startup themselves, and you'll see them out at those places, their alcohol on display there. Another example is where people have found this opportunity within the market to do something different around service. And for a long time, as the fresh food people, we consider these different options around, well, how do we offer our customers something different, take advantage of what's happening maybe in the health space, combine things together, make it really easy for the customers to be able to do their shop and be healthy and all those type of things. And there was a company that was set up called Zeal to You. You've probably heard of a big version of it, which is HelloFresh. Here in Australia, they're actually a $2.5 billion company. They're not a small company as much as they might be a startup here, but they try and offer you meal solutions and deliver them to your home, and takes all that hassle out of it. You pay a premium for that, obviously. You get really high quality produce. You get the recipe and all that. Now, Zeal to You was something that was just a small scale, where again there was people within our produce business and decided that they saw that opportunity in the market. The company wasn't really looking to go and do that, and so they went and did it themselves. The difference between that one and the first example was that the second one has failed. Now, they got a lot of learning out of that. They're still using the brand, and they're shifting it actually to be more just about health. And one of the co-founders, the guy, is now out there. I think he's doing a walk around the country to raise awareness for a particular campaign that he's got. But so he's still focusing in on the core proposition of how he's trying to help people be healthy, but learnt from that experience in regards to what does it mean to try and offer that type of service as a home-delivered meal solution out of that. So there's just two examples of what's happening within Woolworths. A little bit about me, this guy. So how do I fit into the picture? As described, I've worked in change and projects for the last 16 years across a number of different industries. And within Woolworths, I spent a lot of time up here actually in Queensland back in 2006 and 2007, building a distribution centre down the road for Woolworths, which was great fun. And then I shifted into IT and HR, so I did organisational design and change, which was very interesting, and at times trying to design new business structures, which meant that some people might actually lose their jobs. So it was a very different type of change going on there. And then into transformation and strategy, and finally in innovation. And it was something that was really driving me as to how could I work with startups and find these blossoming ideas out there in the ecosystem, and then take early advantage of them for the organisation, and as such potentially put Woolworths ahead of the curve of the competitors, of the market, but really actually support those people that were trying to do that innovation such that they could succeed as well. And the biggest problem for any startup is actually customers. So how could we be a first customer if we couldn't actually invest in some examples, or we may not have been able to go as fast as them? How do we actually give them that seed funding through being a particular customer? Along the way, I've actually got my own custom-made suit business, which is called Suited, that we started just over a year ago. If you go onto my LinkedIn, you can see all the links to that there. That's been a lot of fun, and that's been helping me actually then as I'm working with entrepreneurs to understand what's really going on for them. So when people talk about empathy as a part of a human-centered design or any of those type of methodologies, the best way to understand that is to go and do it for yourself. And so that's just a little bit about me. Woolworths wanted to go in a different direction. They've got some good challenges at the moment as they're facing a very competitive market. And as such, I took an opportunity to step outside. But what I really wanted to focus on today, or even O-Day, is three things. I wanted to talk to you about what's happening actually within corporates, and as Henry said, it's a challenging world that we live in at the moment. It's not the same as it used to be, and it's being disrupted. But what's also happening for the people, because we often talk about organisations, and we tend to talk about people within those organisations, but I think that there's two different things going on there. And then finally, just some brief ideas, and it's another idea that I've got to try and make things a little bit better. So the situation for corporates is that IT spend is not the same as it used to be. You don't do or you don't need to do the big, heavy capital projects. I started within a large SAP implementation within Woolworths 7 years ago. That only just got finished last year. And so that's the way things used to get done. You used to spend a lot of money, take a lot of time, and then re-engineer your complete system and try and actually get one thing to do as much as possible, towards that 80% of your overall processes, or towards 80% of what was really needed. That's not the way that things happen now. You can go out there and really go best of breed. You've got great integration tools. So IT spend has really started to change the game as to you might have the same amount of pool, but you can actually do a lot more with it. And then you've got the whole Moore's Law thing. So things are actually speeding up whilst you're actually doing it. And if you choose to continue to go down that path of doing big, heavy implementations, you end up in this situation where you potentially have something by the time you deliver it that's outdated. And it's not just outdated by a couple of months, it's outdated by years. Then you've got customers, and in retail, customers are very promiscuous. They don't always love to shop with you, and they may not always actually shop with you because they love you. I know, and I've seen all the media around when we changed our loyalty program at Woolworths as to what does not feeling the love really look like. There was a lot of people out there telling us as to what they saw the loyalty program as versus what Woolworths might do. And so if you don't actually look after your customers and really understand them, they will go and spend their money elsewhere. And then you've got these cool people, these disruptors, these people that don't care about the standard ways that things get done, and they're out there actually just creating these new business models. They're doing it in their garage in some funky co-working space, or they're doing it actually on the other side of the world within your particular market. And it's a tough thing because they don't have the constraints or the hang-ups that you might have, or the large amount of depreciation that's sitting on the balance sheet to worry about. They can actually pivot and change their business model. I've got a friend who's a product owner at a data company that is actually a competitor to Woolworths' data company, which is Quantium. And he's constantly frustrated with the fact that the strategy's changing because the customers then say they want this, and as a product manager, he's got to then translate as that strategy changes as to what does that mean from a product point of view. And it seems at the moment it's every week that the strategy is changing. But that's the nature of a startup business. They are there and they are agile and they can do things differently. And then you've got these people that just know nothing about being in the digital world, and they don't stand for working the same way at a desk like everybody has done for many, many years. They don't care about utilising paper anywhere near as much. They are quite happy to work in one country one day and another country the next. So you've got these, it's a different style of working for a lot of different people. You've got investors though that still want to see good quality returns, and they want it to be as low a risk as possible. And as I hand out my money to you, and if it's a retail stock like Woolworths, it's a defensive stock, so I'm not worried about getting a 100% return in the first year. I'm quite happy for that to be 10 and just make sure that it's above whatever the cash rate is at any point in time. And so their tolerance for risk is quite low. And if you go out there and say, hey, I'm disrupting my business model, often you might see a bit of capital come out of the market due to that. And then finally, you've got this globalisation. So the ability to actually work with people around the world is happening, but that means that your workforce gets distributed. It becomes hard to actually stay in contact with them. It becomes hard to actually train them and organise those people towards whatever the strategies and tactics that you've got. So there's all these different things going on within corporates, but the big thing is that it's change, and it's change that they might be doing or is happening to them or is disrupting them, and it's not the same old world. And then the final piece with all that adding together is the question that a lot of companies are asking themselves is, well, how long is my business model that I've got right now that puts the money into the bank going to last? What's the amount of time that I have before I'm going to have a significantly different business model? And we'll come back to that question in a moment. And the situation then for people is, well, they're startups as well. They've got ideas, they've got these pursuits that they want. It is so much easier these days to actually do something and to create something for yourself than it ever was. You know, having a custom-made suit business 20 years ago would mean I'd have to physically go and try and find someone that was happy to make bespoke one-off things for me as required when my customers were actually there. The limitations on me would have been that I couldn't have too many fabrics available because I'd probably have to pay for them up front, so I'd have to have a high inventory anyway on a lot of the raw materials that went into that. But then I'd have to go and market that, and in order to be able to do that 20 years ago, well, I'm out on the street knocking on doors, making a lot of phone calls. And the world is not like that anymore. If I've got an idea, a dream, I can actually go out and do it, and in the digital era, I can create a business within a couple of hours, and I did do that last year just as a bit of a fun thing at a startup event to see if I could. And that's the reality of what's happening. And so people are actually, when they've got an idea, they're going and trying it. They're not just sitting around thinking, oh, that would be a great idea, that would make me $1 million. They're actually trying it. And a lot of these people, 13% of people within an organisation are out there actively doing it. And in a company of Woolworths, that's a lot of people. Didn't realise we had that many small businesses. And then you've got this freelance. So I don't have to worry about now where my work comes from. I can actually go on to 99 Designs if I'm a creative person, and I can create content for anyone around the world just by looking at whatever their projects are that they're putting at me. Or if I'm a project manager or I'm a digital developer, I can actually go on to freelancer.com and I can pick up projects quite easily for organisations that are anywhere. So the ability to actually do work for organisations is becoming a lot easier as well, even if you're a specialist technical resource, not just an entrepreneur. They don't care about where they work. You know, within Woolworths, we've moved to activity-based working in small pockets a couple of years ago, and there's probably various levels of success. So there's a lot of people that care about a specific space, but there's others that don't. They don't care about when they work, so they could work any hours of the day. And the final piece there is around, there's a lot of information now that they can have on demand. You don't have to be an expert in everything or in your particular field. You can have information that's readily available in order to upskill yourself. And so within the employees, within the people within the organisation, they have a lot more control over their own destiny. So how do you keep these people happy? Why are you sure? You've got a business model that's being disrupted and it's got a lot of change, and you've got these people that have got a lot more control over them. What can you do to keep them happy? Well, there's lots of people doing these sorts of things. You know, you've got the 20% times, hey, we'll give you ability to focus on a passion project so long as it's within these particular boundaries. You've got people getting trained on human-centered design because it's fun, it's creative, and it creates a lot of energy. Or you've got these innovation labs that seem to be popping up within organisations as well, with lots of beanbags and various things. I don't think any of those things in themselves are making people happy. But what it is doing is giving them capability, new capability they may not have had before. So if it is actually about control, my idea is actually, well, how do you give them the tools that they need when they need it without actually knowing exactly what they need? And Think Different Anyday is essentially an ecosystem where I'm looking to actually gather ideas and practical knowledge from around the world and have them readily available for people to actually consume that knowledge on demand as required to help them follow those dreams that they have. Because if you've got 13% or 8% of people within your organisation looking to do something, let's give them the actual capability to do that, such that it can benefit the organisation before they step out the door. The other piece is to actually enable them to collaborate with people that they usually wouldn't interact with. All the studies on innovation and so forth is around how you have these beautiful accidents or serendipity to occur where two things coming together or three things coming together that naturally wouldn't actually create that new innovation. Give people a platform to actually collaborate with different industries on a particular topic, and then the businesses that are actually those people sit within are going to generate new value from that. That's a little piece around me. Thank you very much for your time today. I'll be around later on for the roundtables and questions. Thank you.